have not really ever gone live to talk about kingdom marriages, or what they are. I have written about it in a blog. Um, so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to get used to talking about it because I haven't, and that's why I haven't put up any videos, or I haven't talked about it. And this is, I guess, kind of like practice. And it's fighting fear, me fighting fear, not of getting married because I'm not scared of that. Of talking about it because I sound crazy, like crazy, because um, the Lord in 2019, the Lord told me who He wanted me to marry, who He had picked to be my husband. Now, can you see me better now? And I kind of laughed, like Sarah did when He told her that she was gonna have a baby when she was in her 90s, and I was like, wow. I would have never ever guessed. I mean, this person is amazing, and I think he's great. But are you sure? And he was like, I'll show you. And I said, okay. And then he kind of did. I started getting confirmation, and then I would ask, and I would go on a fast, and I would be like, you got to confirm things to me, because I wouldn't date, I wouldn't talk to anybody, I wouldn't do anything, because I don't want to disappoint the Lord. And He told me exactly who my husband is, because I was a cheater, and He's told me who my husband is 3 years ago. And I haven't even talked to anybody, not going out on any dates, not done anything good. And I would tell them I'm married. Married. Especially now, I have been asked out by friends and would go, have dinner with friends, but not any romantic stuff. Because it's not allowed. I'm married. And I wouldn't do anything that would upset me against my partner if I were married. Does that make sense? I know it does. Or anything that I thought might upset the Lord at me, because for real, I'm married to Jesus, 100% married to Him, and I'm not cheating on Him at all, ever. And this last 3 years has been like a total test of that for me, because like I said, I didn't date, didn't talk on the phone, I didn't entertain it. Would not even entertain that. Because why? The Lord's telling me I'm going to marry this person. Why would I entertain that and put my heart and theirs on the line? No. So I didn't. Won't. It is much easier this time. What's so funny is I went live earlier and tried to do this, and then it didn't upload, and so we're doing it again. And only on this platform. The last time I went live on TikTok as well, and Facebook, and Facebook kept spinning out, and somebody was wanting to argue on TikTok, some strife, and I'm like, so here we are, trying again. I have not done any of these kingdom marriage things. I've not come on and been vulnerable or talked about it or anything like that, and this is a first for me. Because I haven't talked about it at all. And I know this is going all over the place, and it's not organized, and that's because it's getting used to me talking about it and being vulnerable. Because I don't mind being vulnerable about my testimony or things like that, but stuff like this that people can't see, and want to talk about things they don't know, has kind of, I don't want to say bothered me, because it really doesn't. I really don't care. I love you so much, I don't care what you think. That helps. That has helped me get through all of this. That one affirmation has helped me get through everything where fear was poking and prodding. And over this kingdom marriage, fear has poked and prodded. And I don't think it's just me. I think it's everybody, and I think it's our spouses too. But anyway, this is where God has picked for you. God has picked who He wants you with. He has picked who He wants your assignment to be done with. And He has picked who you're on assignment with, because He sent them out 2 by 2. He picks for you. He will tell you. And That's the prophetic part of it. He will tell you who he is, and but before you even get with this person, you're going to love them so beautifully, so unconditionally, so immensely. It's a perfect love, no matter what. And the Lord has shown you that too. And you've learned to pray more than you speak, which was a chore for me. I don't know about you, but that was a chore for me. Still is sometimes. So the Proverbs says, bite your tongue. So if I'm walking into something I don't know what I'm going into, my tongue is straight in between my teeth. So I don't say anything I don't need to say. And I mind my tongue in prayer if I'm going into something that I'm not sure of. But that's not going to be the case with these marriages. They are going to be beautiful and amazing, not perfect, because nothing is perfect. So don't stereotype it as that, but it is going to be just beautiful. I mean, amazing. And you have learned how to pray more than you talk. I mean, I had some people come at me last week. I was even cussed out. And I didn't say anything to anybody. I went on a walk with Jesus and prayed. Now, I may have said some things on that walk to Jesus, but that's what I needed to say to. That's how I needed to take it to. Because nobody in the natural needed to know that anything was wrong. And they didn't. So that was a plus, and that was a good test that I got to see that I passed. And I was proud of that. I know I'm talking all over the place. I'm working on it. Holy Spirit, I promise I'm working on it. Help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. So the Lord talks to me in songs a lot. He speaks to me a lot in songs and with music. And that's how he really had me fall in love with my spouse, my husband. He would play me a song, and then he would give me a vision. And then he would like put this blanket of cascading love like all through and over me, and it was wow. I mean, how can you not be in love with that? And then he would tell me, like little intimate details about my spouse. Like my spouse was not even single when Daddy told me that he was my husband. He was in a relationship with somebody else, and he's been in a couple of relationships that I've seen and watched, and I never said anything. I've been focused on me and worried about me, and now he's telling me that these marriages are about to come into fruition and that we need to talk about it. So we're here, we're talking about it. Anyway, this is where God has chosen who he wants you to be with, and he will tell you who it is, and then he will minister to you and have you fall in love with this person. And this whole process is going to bring you closer to the Lord. And it's beautiful and it's just lovely. But that's what kingdom marriages are. And if he has you in this prophetic love story, this kingdom marriage where he has chosen your spouse, and you've been standing for a while, and you have a name, you have a face, you know exactly who it is. You may not know them, but you know who it is, then this is for you. Because I know there's a lot of people that claim it, and because I teach that. I mean, if you want it, claim it. The Lord will prepare you. But that this is not their season. Please know your season, because I would get so messed up on the seasons. Like, is this my season? What season is this? I don't know anything about seasons. I don't know anything about any of this. So ask him. Ask him if this is your marriage season, or what if you're in a preparation season, because Esther went through a whole preparation season. And then Ruth met Boaz around harvest time. We are in harvest season and in the feast. So read those two, and then this song, Let's Get Together by Haley Mills. Do you remember Parent Trap? It's way back, like in the 80s or something like that, like in the 1900s. You might not know. But some of you might, because if I attracted you, you might, because like attracts like, and the law of vibration. So, if you vibrate at my level, then you'll see this video if you're in this, and if you do, then chances are this is for you, because I don't think most people are I don't think most people are like this sanctified. I mean, I could be wrong, because I had been in this house by myself with Lord for 3 years. It's been me and him. Hardly any friends, and not one person, the whole time. You know, people have come in and out, and they've come back, and they've gone out, and they've come back for questions, a little bit of guidance, and they're back out again. Because I mean, I'm called to teach and heal, and so people were just in and out. Not one person has stayed consistently this whole process, and not one person that has called themselves my friend has seen all my videos. So no matter what, whether you have support or not, do what the Lord tells you to do. Stay with Him. No matter how people tell you crazy or cuss you out or get mad at you because of your relationship with Him, stay with it, because the relationship with Him, that's your way into heaven, not any of them. And they're just people, and they don't understand. You know, they're living in their flesh, and they don't understand who they are. They don't understand who you are. They don't understand, so don't take it personal. And I know how hard that is, because I know some of the people that are coming against us are our families. But that's part of being chosen, and the black sheep. You should be used to this. You'll be all right. Anyway, let's get together. Let's get together. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the song, and it's so cute. I'm gonna read you the lyrics. Let's get together. What do you say? They're gonna contact you. We can have a swing in time. Y'all are gonna have a swing in time. It's gonna be swell. In fact, they think you're swell. Oh, I really think you're swell. They think you're great. They are so in love with you. The love is reciprocated. They you may not be seeing it in the natural, but they are totally head over heels in love with you and ready. Both of y'all are ready, just waiting on the Lord. Wow. Wow, I didn't know that. Let's get together. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 2 is twice as nice as 1. And the Lord sent them out 2 by 2, and the 3-chord strand. Let's get together right away. And right away is boxed in. Today, tomorrow, any day. Any day. This time, tomorrow, any day. We'll be having twice the fun. You can always count on me. You're going to be with someone that is totally in love with you, that you can count on, that you can take their word to the bank, that they will not pick anything over you. I had somebody pick money over me, so that to me is very important, that I can count on them for safety, security, and to not be thrown under the rug. So that lyric was very important to me. So it might be to somebody else, because I think a lot of us have a lot of the same stories. You know, if I attract you, you have a lot of the same stories as I do, so I don't mind talking about it. A gruesome twosome we will be. Let's get together. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Today, tomorrow, any day. Any day. Any day. Wow, any day, y'all. Any day. Oh, Jesus, that's exciting. Any day. Any day, and we are going to be married, y'all. Married. And it's coming so much any day that He's wanting us to read this. So for the next 10 days, we are going to be reading the 10 Commandments of marriage. And I'm going to start with chapter 1. And we're going to read. Thou shalt not be a selfish pig. I don't think any of us have this to worry about, because the Lord has healed us so well and so great. So I don't think any of us are going to be selfish. But we're going to read the book, because I was told to. 1 chapter a night, okay, for 10 days. And I don't know if I'm going to go live, or maybe on YouTube, because I think the videos get uploaded better if I go live than if I make a video and try. So I don't mind going live, especially on YouTube, because I don't see any comments, but I don't know if I haven't pushed the right buttons, or, oh, I didn't even know that was there. So anyway, oh, well, no way, it wasn't even turned on. But that's okay. I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody that really jumps on the lives on YouTube, so it's kind of quiet on here. So I don't mind reading and putting it up, but sometimes talking about things that I haven't really wanted to talk about, like the kingdom marriages, because my husband is on my Facebook, and so um, I just got a phone call, and I could probably call them back and then put this up and stitch it, but we're not going on assignment. We're gonna do this. 142, that's the number of weddings held in our church last year. I didn't perform all 142, of course, but as a pastor, 40 years of experience, I've been to the altar more times than I can count. Many of the ceremonies have left me with lasting memories, some touching, some quite humorous. But in the middle of all the smiles, laughter, and tears and joy that accompany most weddings, something very serious takes place. When I perform a wedding, I am asking the couple to promise before God, family, friends, and me that they will honor, love, and cherish one another. I ask them to pledge to honor and sustain each other in sickness and in health, in poverty and in wealth. I instruct them to put the other's needs and desires before their own and anyone else's except God's. These solemn promises make up the wedding vows. So far, every bride and groom standing before me has responded with the heartfelt I do. But sometimes I wonder if they understand fully what they are promising as they exchange their vows. When I ask the couple to make these promises, I am in reality challenging both partners to embrace 10 biblical principles that, if applied, will help their marriage not only to survive but thrive. The task will involve commitment, work, plus a lot of give and take, but they and you truly have a marriage that sizzles. You truly can have a marriage that sizzles. That's the kind of marriage God wants us to have. After all, marriage is His idea. He has a divine purpose and plan for the relationship between a husband and wife, and like all His plans, it is perfect. God performed the very first marriage ceremony, a beautiful garden wedding on the perfect day with a perfect man marrying a perfect woman. Adam and Eve had it all. Just imagine Adam could truly say to Eve, "You're the only girl in the world for me." Well, she was the only girl in the world, right? And he would never hear from Eve those haunting words, "Let me tell you about the guy I could have married." This first couple enjoyed the perfect love relationship, the kind God intended for a husband and wife to share for a lifetime. Adam and Eve lived for some time in sinless perfection, enjoying a pristine garden where God visited them and walked with them in the cool of the evening. Not even a hint of sin or imperfection marred the picture. The Bible tells us that Adam and Eve walked around the garden naked but felt no shame or embarrassment. Genesis 2:25. And their nakedness went beyond the mere physical. They remained totally transparent with one another and with God. You're going to be totally transparent with your spouse. Totally 100%. Nothing will be kept between the two of you. Or away. You see what I'm saying there? Y'all aren't going to keep anything from each other. Thank you, Holy Spirit. God has promised this first couple great blessings and had given them the run of the garden with just one condition. This whole garden is yours, God told Adam, and you can eat the fruit from any tree or plant. That is all except one. I have placed one tree in the middle of the garden from which you are not to eat. If you do eat from this tree, you will gain the knowledge of good and evil, and you are not equipped to handle the weight of that knowledge. If you eat of that tree, you will die. God's perfect plan disrupted. Adam and Eve both knew the consequences of disobedience. They realized that God had forbidden them to eat from the single tree, but the devil using language filled with deception and selfishness, enticed Eve. Indeed, has God said, you should not eat from any tree in the garden. You surely will not surely die, the serpent hissed. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. You know the rest of the story, but that's where he got Eve. He made her question her identity. Don't let the enemy make you question who you are. You know who you are. The Russian stack dolls. You are God in manifestation. Don't let the enemy deceive you. Everybody is. You know the rest of the story. Adam and Eve ate from the forbidden tree, and with their disobedience, a divine curse fell on all humanity, resulting in the ultimate tragedy of human history. All that day, sin and selfishness permanently stained our existence. At that moment, we lost the perfect fellowship with God that He intended for us to share with Him. At that very instant, every human relationship we would enter, including marriage, shrieked under a divine curse. History's first marital battle. This tragic chain of events set off the first selfishness-induced marital battle in history. When God confronted Adam about his sin, the man responded by blaming his wife. Lord, it's not my fault, it's hers. He used different words, but he intended exactly that accusation. The Bible reports that he told God, the woman whom you gave me to be with, she gave me the fruit and I ate. When God turned to Eve to hear her side of the story, she didn't know better. Yeah, don't throw blame, you're throwing your power away. She blamed her surroundings and her circumstances. God, I can't be held responsible for this. The serpent deceived me. Blame him for this. The whole sordid scene provides a vivid and ugly picture of selfishness in action. It reveals two people giving in their temptation, sinning against God and against one another, then covering for themselves, all in an attempt to avoid accepting the blame and consequences for their sin. The husband blamed the wife and God, while the wife blamed her circumstances. Sound familiar? As a consequence, the beautiful marriage relationship that God had designed as a perfect union to benefit both the man and the woman and to glorify Himself collapsed into a bitter exchange of accusations and recriminations. Things have never been the same since. The number one problem in marriage. Our first commandment deals with the number one problem in marriage, a setback that cropped up from the garden with Adam and Eve. Since then, we've seen and continue all the way in the 21st century. It remains the number one problem in your marriage and in mine. What is it? Selfishness. We all suffer from the sin of selfishness. It lies at the heart of nearly every marital problem. Marriage counselor Willard F. Harley Jr. wrote, those of us in the business of trying to save marriages struggle daily with cultural beliefs and practices that make our job difficult. The sudden surge of divorces in the 70s that has made America the country with the highest divorce rate has a great deal to do with the changes in our basic beliefs. More to the point, it has to do with the major shift towards self-centeredness. Beliefs that encourage self-centeredness destroy marriages. I could not agree more with Dr. Harley, and that's why our first commandment of marriage states, thou shalt not be a selfish pig. That's about as simple and blunt as you can get. Still, I'm convinced that if every couple walking the aisle took seriously this single principle, a welcome oasis of marital bliss would spread across this nation. Divorce lawyers would have to take a number at the unemployment office. I'm beginning to think I should incorporate these exact words into the marriage ceremony. Thou shalt not be a selfish pig. This first commandment calls us to do in marriage what the Apostle Paul instructs us to do. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others before yourself. Philippians 2:3. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But our number one problem, selfishness, makes it tough. Perhaps we can take some positive steps toward incorporating this commandment to our marriages. If we look at the problem of selfishness as a disease, the disease called pigitis. I like to refer to the disease of selfishness as pigitis. If you've ever seen a pig pen, you get the idea. I saw my first pig pen as a boy. I had imagined a coral filled with the shiny little porky pigs, but I saw quite the opposite. The pen overflowed with dozens of chunky beasts, all nuzzled slop with muddy snouts. Those pigs lost themselves in the mire, even shoving aside any other pig that tried to nudge in, including their own piglets. You don't have to be the world's leading physician to diagnose pigitis. Wherever you see someone with his snout so mired that his own interest, that he forgets everyone else, you see an infected person. I wonder, do you have pigitis? Symptoms of pigitis. Well, that's a pretty good chapter. We might be here a while. If you're not sure, look for the symptoms. Most illnesses reveal visible physical symptoms. Selfish pigitis is no different. Its symptoms are as obvious as those of chickenpox. Do a little self-diagnosis as you consider each of the symptoms listed below. Ask yourself, to what degree has this symptom of selfish pigitis infected me? To help you remember these symptoms, I'm going to use the itis of pigitis as an Acrostic. The four symptoms are immaturity, time choices, insensitivity, and stubbornness. Immaturity. Joe, Beth, and I dated for more than 6 years before we married. In hindsight, I believe that whatever we felt for one another on the day we married had more in common with puppy love than with genuine mature love. We had to start growing up. 43 years later, the process continues. What do I mean by puppy love? Puppy love is an immature form of love dynamic that binds two people together. When we are in puppy love, we want to be with the person because of how he or she makes us feel. In puppy love, our emotional and physical needs take a central place in the relationship, and like those pigs in the slop, we push aside anyone who doesn't satisfy and gratify our needs. Many of us start with puppy love. Nothing wrong with that. It can be fun and enjoyable, but unless puppy love grows into mature love, the marriage will struggle and may not survive the trying times. And if you build your marital relationship on puppy love, you'll end up living a dog's life. Been there, done that. He's not lying. Consider the contrast between puppy love and mature love in the chart on the next page, because puppy love is not going to stand the test of time. It's just not. Puppy love focuses on, and love is not a feeling, love is a decision. Puppy love focuses on receiving, impatient, self-centered, tends to outbursts of anger, self-protective because it insists on meeting its needs above all. Mature love seeks to give to the other person, patient in spite of the other's flaws. You love them where they are, responds gently and appropriately to irritants, speaking the truth in love, transparent and vulnerable. We made it to mature love in ourselves. That's good to know. The answer to the problem of puppy love is maturity, and that means living, as Paul puts it in Ephesians 5:15, with wisdom toward one another. We are to live and conduct our marriages as mature men and women in Christ. Unfortunately, however, far too many of us never grow beyond immaturity in either our married or our spiritual lives. While Jesus tells us to be childlike, immature people remain childish. Sociologists and psychologists agree that America suffers a crisis of fatherhood partly because so many men never grow beyond adolescence. Their bodies age, but their minds still think like immature kids. Men, and women too, experiment constantly with new ways to satisfy their desires. But even the most immature can acquire wisdom as they study and embrace God's principles. Joe, Beth, and I had a lot of growing up to do when we were married. Though we are now grandparents, we are still growing as individuals and in our relationship, and I can honestly say that growing and maturing together has yielded a life given more exciting and rewarding than those early days of puppy love. Time choices. The Apostle Paul tells us to redeem our time, Ephesians 5:16. Literally, we are to buy up all the opportunities time can bring us. I enjoy playing golf, so whenever I get the opportunity, I visit a nearby course to play or at least hit some golf practice balls. I've become casually acquainted with the man who seems to be hitting golf balls at the practice range every time I show up. Unless by some great coincidence he just happens to arrive at the course when I'm there. He apparently spends a great deal of time golfing. It seems as though he's already there whenever I arrive and is still there when I leave. He must hit hundreds of balls every day. I can't help but wonder, how does this man spend his time? Does he have a neglected wife and kids at home waiting for their husband and father to return from the golf course? One man recently told me, I'm getting comfortable. I'm just putting my feet up. Hang on just a second. There we go. I had to get that chair a little bit closer. One man recently told me I struggle with selfishness in my marriage in the area of leisure time. I grew up loving sports and would spend hours watching it on television. During the first several years of my marriage, I noticed that many of my evenings were spent not with my wife, but with ESPN. Praise Jesus that He is putting us with someone that is like us to where our hobbies match. And you're going to be good. You're going to be good. These are the things that He's told me, and I believe Him, so you're going to be good. Y'all are going to have a lot in common. A lot in common. Because this young man did not want to be a selfish pig, he made a tough choice. He decided to get rid of cable, and he called it one of his best decisions ever made for his marriage. How much time could we men gain to spend quality time with our wives if only we turn off the television? Oh, I love that. I don't have cable, so that's good. That's a good one for me. Because you have all this time that you can spend with each other, with the Lord. I mean, instead of sitting on TV, I don't want to ever watch TV. I'd like to sometimes, but then, and then he says, okay, you can. I'm like, yeah, well, I really don't want to. Let's just go for a walk or something. So he's more important than TV. I have to confess, I can channel surf with the best of them, especially when it comes to sports and news networks. But I'm convinced, men, that if we'll just turn off the TV, we will have the opportunity to gain more joy and in increased intimacy with our wives. I could see that. It's easy because I've been married before and divorced a few times, so I can see why God told me who my husband was and had me stay single for the last 4 years, preparing me to be married. It's easy to spend our time on our careers, our hobbies, our avocations, and other self-gratifying activities, all at the expense of our marriages. I can't begin to tell you the number of people I've known whose marriages have suffered because one or both partners become too busy to make time for their relationship. The husband and the wife seem to inhabit different worlds. They live together, yet never took the time for one another. The best that either could hope for from the other was leftovers. Leftover food might make a tasty meal, but leftover time creates a bland relationship. I've been in a relationship with somebody where literally the only time we spent together was sitting down for a meal. We had absolutely nothing in common. Nothing. Don't do that. Learn from me and my mistakes. Insensitivity. If I had known he was so insensitive and unfeeling, I never would have married him. I have heard this complaint from unhappy wives more times than I care to count. I sympathize with the feelings that spark such harsh words. They often come from a frustrated wife who feels unappreciated, who believes that her husband doesn't care about her needs or what she thinks or is feeling. Insensitivity kills a marriage and can destroy any kind of relationship. It's hard to live with, work with, or associate with an insensitive person. No one wants to spend time with someone who doesn't listen or give any consideration to the feeling or thoughts of others. That's so true. In Ephesians 5:17, Paul provides a model of what sensitivity looks like. So then, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Two contrasting words take the spotlight in this verse: foolish and understand. This verse tells us that foolishness follows a lack of understanding. Understanding depends upon sensitivity. We need it in our relationship with the Lord and with other people, especially our spouse. Sensitivity means seeking to understand the other person's thought, feelings, and needs. Let's take a look at this kinds of sensitivity in action. Mark and Lori have been married for almost 10 years. Mark owns a small business selling sporting goods. The business provides him great personal fulfillment and a healthy family income. Long before she met Mark, Lori discovered her love for oil painting. Through the years, she developed her passion into a profitable sideline business. But these 3 kids came along in 4 years. As the diapers and high chairs multiplied, Lori's time for painting faded. The couple had always planned for Mark to be the breadwinner, allowing Lori her desire to be a homemaker. But then busy mom gradually discovered that her love for painting provided a welcome creative outlet that helped to balance her day. Her overwhelming household duties, however, soon gave her fewer and fewer opportunities to paint. Mark sensed Lori's need to express her artistic gift, and after giving the situation much thought, he decided to cut back on his number of clients in order to help his wife pursue her artistic career. Lori now has access to a small gallery that provides her with refreshing breaks from her routine. And Mark, he takes care of the children and household chores every Tuesday, Thursday morning, and Saturday afternoon. Through his sensitivity to his wife's needs and his choice to act selflessly, Mark discovered a cherished part of his life. Had he decided to act like a selfish pig, he would have denied both his wife and himself an enormous amount of happiness. Ask yourself a couple of questions. As a wife, are you sensitive to your husband when he is in the middle of a pressure-packed time at office? As a husband, are you sensitive to your wife when she's struggling with her boss or with her children? Are you sensitive to one another during those times when you just don't feel like yourselves? Insensitivity is a classic symptom of pigitis. It causes us to live foolishly and our marriages suffer. Stubbornness. It seems only fit that one symptom of pigitis is stubbornness. but known as pig-headedness. And nowhere do we see stubbornness in marriage more clearly than in the area of submission. Paul uncovers this problem in Ephesians 5:22 when he writes that wives are to submit to their husbands as they would the Lord. Some husbands believe this verse puts them in charge, and no matter what conflict or disagreement arises, what they say goes. Only one problem: that's not what this verse means. Right before the apostle says that wives should submit to their husbands, he states that all Christians should submit to one another, motivated by reverence for Christ. We are all to lay aside the stubbornness that characterizes our fallen natures and consider the needs of others. Sometimes this includes husbands submitting to their wives. A few years ago, Bob and Betty began a practice that revolutionized their marriage. They began to ask each other, "What says I love you to you?" They committed to act on the answers they heard and thus found the key to mutual submission. I was thinking about what says I love you to me. That was funny to me. I posted a meme the other day that said, "Nothing says I love you more than, honey, I've already booked the trip." They stumbled into this practice early in their marriage. Betty had long assumed that more than anything else, Bob wanted a clean house when he came home from work. So every afternoon before he arrived home, she would rush to the house like a whirlwind, cleaning everything in sight. She would always greet Bob and follow him into the house, waiting for his praise for her immaculate housework, but it never came. Understandably, she began to resent Bob's lack of appreciation and diagnosed him as suffering from an acute case of pigitis. One day, she'd had enough. With fire in her eyes, she confronted Bob as they talked. He probably didn't have a clue about it. As they talked, Betty discovered that Bob really didn't care if the house was clean when he got home. He just wanted to know what was for dinner. The meal didn't even have to be ready. They could be ordering pizza for all he cared. What said I love you to Bob was not a clean house, but a happy wife with dinner plans. What a revelation and relief to Betty, I bet. From that day on, Bob and Betty began answering the question, "What says I love you to you?" No better or more harmonious marriages exist than those in which both partners submit to one another as they would to the Lord. This doesn't mean disagreements and conflicts never erupt. It does mean, however, that ultimate peace reigns in the marriage because both the husband and the wife consciously choose to put the other first in all decision making. Diagnosis and treatment of pigitis. It's time to look in the mirror. Do you suffer from pigitis? Do you see yourself in one or more of the symptoms just described: immaturity, insensitivity, or stubbornness? Do you tend to misuse your time or give it to your personal activities or interests, leaving your mate the leftovers? If you answered yes to any of these questions and you suffer from pigitis, the truth is most of us do. Selfish pigitis has made many marriages so sick that the relationship needs an ICU. Their union has all the characteristics of anemia. They've lost the passion, fun, and effectiveness for God that they once had. They feel bored and unfulfilled in the marriage and even numb toward one another. In one sense, that's not all bad news. If you recognize such problems in your marriage, you've already taken a giant step toward making positive changes. It will take hard work and perseverance, but you can overcome selfish pigitis. To help you do that, I would recommend that you get some PEEP, another fun acrostic. The treatment for pigitis includes 3 ingredients: priorities, expectations, and patterns. I think what's worried me the most about getting married is incorporating that relationship with this relationship, with mine and, me and Jesus, and Holy Spirit. But He's assured me that it's going to be great, so trust Him. But that was a worry of mine. So take everything that you have, every worry, every concern, every care, everything to the Lord. Everything. He's there for all of it. He wants to hear your perspective on everything. Priorities. Get on the same page. That's the first ingredient in treating selfish pigitis. Many marriages go for decades without so much as a word spoken about individual and mutual priorities. When two people don't work toward goals important to both, selfishness easily comes into play, and usually the goals of one become dominant. Before I go any further, there's a song that he gave me the other day that was talking just about this. that y'all are on the same page. Um, and that's good to know. When two people don't work toward goals important to both, selfishness easily comes into play, and usually the goals of one become dominant. The key to getting on the same page: set your priorities together. Take the time to write down your personal list of priorities in such areas as friendship, work, church, money, vacation, and children. Once you've each made your list, compare them, see where they overlap and where they differ. Then sit down and work out the differences. Remember, if the goal is to get on the same page, that requires mutual give and take. Would you like a fun and effective way to do this? Then consider going on a personal retreat. Just you and your mate. Ooh, that sounds fun. You don't have to go far away or spend a lot of money. Just take a couple of days and go somewhere special. So the two of you, where you can work through your priorities and spend some time enjoying one another. Expectations. Our dog Sunny had a tick problem. Have you ever observed one of those little suckers? And that's exactly what they are. Ticks survive by sucking the blood out of their host. Well, let me tell you, Sonny was a great host. He wore special collars and got dipped to kill the little parasites, but somehow ticks would still attach themselves to Sonny and have a feast. Their feeding frenzies caused him to swell up several times to their normal size. He must have been full. Many a tick lived a full life by feeding off our Sonny. Sounds like it. What do Sonny's ticks have to do with marriage? Every couple that comes to the altar bring their own set of expectations. Whenever I stand before a bride and groom, I have the uncanny ability to read their minds. As I watch them look into each other's eyes, I know that both of them are thinking, this person is going to meet all my needs. Nobody meets all of our needs except Jesus. That's when the trouble begins. I call this a tick on a dog relationship. Problem is, in far too many marriages, you have two ticks and no dog. Neither partner's legitimate needs get met, and each tries to feed off the other. Certainly, it's normal to have some expectations of your mate in marriage. That's part of the I do promise. It's vital, however, that every couple clearly communicate their expectations. That's why the second ingredient of our treatment for pigitis is defining expectations. Most of us go about this all wrong. We survey the marriages we know everything about and reach a general conclusion. This is what a good marriage must be like. I might look at the relationship between my mother and father or observe other couples I've known, read about, or seen on television, and from this information try to determine what a marriage ought to look like. This deeply flawed method of understanding expectation in marriage can lead to disappointment, even disaster. We build healthy marriages when we sit down with our spouse and define our needs and goals as a team. We say, this is what we want our marriage to be like. In other words, we get our expectations together. This is what we expect out of our marriage. These are our goals for our marriage. Try doing this on the personal marriage retreat I suggested earlier. Get away with your mate and talk and think through your expectations and goals. If you'll do this, you'll less likely focus on yourself and more likely focus on meeting the needs of your spouse. And you'll be well on your way to getting over selfish pigitis. Patterns. The final ingredient to pigitis treatment involves getting your lifestyle patterns together. When two people are married, they bring into the relationship different ways of dealing with life. Every home is unique, and we bring those unique lifestyle patterns with us to the altar. Some of these patterns may need to be broken while others embraced. I think that the Lord has broken all of our crazy patterns and cycles that make us toxic. In fact, I know He has. That is part of our healing. Because all of us have been healed before this has, because we're all still healing. I mean, we've all been healing for the last couple of years. We're healed. Suppose a husband comes from a family that showed its affection much more than did his wife's, or perhaps the member of his family are very frugal while his wife spends readily. Take time with your mate to get your lifestyle patterns together. How will you make decisions? How will you resolve conflict? How will you handle money? How will you discipline your children? Jo Beth and I grew up together. When we were married, we already knew each other pretty well. Still, we came from different families and lifestyle patterns. We had to establish our own lifestyle patterns when we were married. You must do the same if you're going to rid your marriage of pigitis. The road to recovery. How do we know when we're on the road to recovery from pig-itis? How do we know when we're cured? Love. Love is the answer. Let's clarify that word. One that suffers from overuse in our society. We love everything from people to pets to pastimes to pizza. The word has become shallow and has lost much of its rich depth of meaning. It's been watered down. So if love brings health back to our marriages and assures us that our pig-itis is under control, let's take a moment to restore value to the meaning of love. There is no better place to find the true meaning of love than in the Bible. God is love, and His Word. He gave us clear instructions about life, including love and marriage. The New Testament contains an array of Greek terms that we translate with the single word love. Each of these Greek words describes a unique kind of love or different depth or aspect of love. Since America's word love lacks depth of meaning, let's spend some time looking at these biblical loves. Let's consider what we call feelings: love, friendship, love, and forever love. When your marriage contains all three of these loves, you'll know that you're cured of pig-itis and on your way to a sizzling marriage. Friend love, forever love, and feelings love. Feelings love. I clearly remember how I felt when I first fell in love with JoBeth. My heart beating as if it just ran a 4 minute mile, and my stomach churning like the whole colony of butterflies had moved in. She was like a magnet to me. I felt drawn to her all the time. I felt as lovesick as the man described by the anonymous poet. I climbed up the door and shut the stairs. I said to my shoes and took off my prayers. I shut off the bed and climbed into the light, and all because she kissed me goodnight. I can identify with the poor guy in this poem. He had a bad case of what I call feelings love or romantic love. The Greek term for this type of love is eros, the kind of erotic love that gets top billing in romance novels and movies. By the time erotic love is not bad after all, it was God's idea. Read the Song of Solomon, you'll see how God meant erotic and feelings love to function within marriage. This type of love involves chemistry between a husband and wife, an exciting mixture of passion, physical attraction, acts of affection, and sexuality. Romantic love is a wonderful gift from God to be shared between a man and a woman committed to one another in marriage. It's not only an enjoyable part of marriage, it is a vital part. Ask any marriage counselor to name the question most asked by husbands and wives, and he'll probably say something like, how can I restore the passion and excitement to my life and to my marriage? When people say the romance or the spark has gone from their marriage, the problem is the fading of feelings of love. That's why people get divorced. Now, I don't love them anymore because that feeling love faded. Certainly, it's not easy to maintain passion and excitement in marriage, but torches can be relit. You can restore romantic love to your relationship, to your marriage. You can indeed have a marriage that sizzles. How? Let me give you some practical steps to help you restore the feelings to your relationship. Give attention to your relationship. I always advise couples to keep dating each other. Husbands need to court their wives with the same dedication they need to win their love. Wives should make their husbands feel as special as a knight in shining armor. Activate your will, even if you don't feel the same emotions you once did. Activate your will to do the things you naturally did back in those days of passionate romantic love. Imagine your life as a train. Your will is the locomotive and your emotions are the caboose. Once the locomotive starts moving on the tracks, the caboose follows. So don't concentrate on feelings. Feelings are important, but healthy emotions can't be generated by feelings alone. Commit to actions that benefit your mate, and then watch as those feelings rekindle. You can't go on feelings. That would be like, you can't trust your feelings. They're fickle. You can't, faith is not a feeling. Love is not a feeling. It's a way of being. Stay on the tracks. Consider the following tracks laid out in Scripture. The first obligation we have as husband and wife is obvious. Love your mate as a cherished husband or wife. Ephesians 5:25, Titus 2:4. The Bible instructs both husbands and wives to love one another. Unfortunately, some people have trouble with that mandate. So the second love of our track may be a bit easier for them. Love your mate as a fellow believer. 1 Peter 3:8. If you still don't think you can fill this bill, then do your best to comply with the third biblical level. Love your mate as a neighbor. Matthew 22:39. If this still feels like too tall of an order, Jesus has one last directive for you. Love your mate as an enemy. Matthew 5:44. The Lord teaches us to love our enemies. If you can't love your mate at least as much as you love your enemies, then you probably have some problems that go beyond the marital realm. Your first order of business is to make sure of your relationship with the Lord, because without that, no amount of relationship seminars or how-to books will help your marital troubles. I don't think they would help any troubles at all if you're not in a relationship with the Lord. That guarantees your healing. Want your healing? Get in a relationship with the Lord. Let's move on to the next kind of love necessary to ward off selfish pigitis. There is much more to marriage than romantic love. While I grant that this is vital, fun, and enjoyable stage, your marriage will suffer if you have only 1/3 of the love it needs. More than one marriage has failed because a couple neglected to move beyond feelings love. Friendship love. Irving Jones and Jessie Brown were married on October 24th. So ends a friendship that began in school days. So announced the church bulletin after the Joneses' wedding. I hope that Irving and Jessie continue their friendship despite the gloomy declaration. The Greek word for friendship love is philia. Hence, no, Philadelphia is called the city of brotherly love. Philia refers to affection and bonding between two individuals. Eros, or feelings love, results in a person falling madly or blindly in love, as if something irresistible in the other person pulls the smitten lover into the relationship. But philia, friendship love, carries the idea of choice, the act of the will. The best marriages in the world are those in which the partner not only fall in love, but choose one another as best friend. Oh, that's so sweet, because that's part of what this kingdom marriage prophetic love story is about. Choosing one another, choosing God's will. Choosing. It's a choice. It's always a choice. Where was I? Think for a moment about the best friend you've ever had. Remember how you could tell this person anything without fear of judgment or rejection. You felt safe to share your secret thoughts, deepest feelings, and innermost desires. In such a marriage, the husband and wife can honestly say they married their best friend. Such couples have so much in common that they enjoy one another's company, even apart from marriage's sexual aspect. Physical attraction frequently gets the attention of a man and a woman for one another, but couples who count each other best friends consciously choosing such a relationship. One influential author says it this way: Noel and I, in obedience to Jesus Christ, have pursued as passionately as we could the deepest, most lasting joys possible. All too imperfectly, all too half-heartedly at times, we have stalked our own joy in the joy of each other. And we can testify together, for those who marry, this is the path to the heart's desire. As each pursues joy in the joy of the other and fulfills a God-ordained role, the mystery of marriage, as a parable of Christ in the church, becomes manifest for His great glory and for our great joy. I've often said that marriage is friendship that catches fire. If your marriage includes feelings, love, and friendship love, rejoice. It is on the mend from pigitis, forever love. Feelings and friendship love are both based on feelings and friendship love are both based, at least to some degree, on mutual enjoyment, satisfaction, and fulfillment. I've found much happiness in the romantic and friendship love Jo Beth and I share, and I trust she has found the same thing. But forever love cares so much for another that he or she gives with no expectation of return. That's key right there. That's love. No expectation of anything in return. In its purest form, forever love has been demonstrated by God. He has poured out this unconditional love in sending His Son, Jesus Christ. We cannot deserve it, and we can give nothing in return that equals it. The Greek word for such love is agape. The term is so rare that it doesn't appear much in Greek literature outside the Bible. It's as if the word had been created and reserved solely to express God's love for us. In marriage, this type of love endures the ups and downs of feelings, love, and the highs and lows of friendship love. This is the love that transcends romantic feelings and surges of devotion. It is not based on feelings, but on an enduring commitment. Eros love is a matter of the body. Philia has to do with the soul, but agape is an issue of the spirit. Many couples try to make it with 1/3 or at best a 2/3 marriage. Many have a physical relationship only, and when the fire dies, the marriage ends. Others have the physical and the friendship, but the day comes when the friendship sours and the marriage terminates. But husbands and wives who enjoy a 3/3 marriage have a whole relationship. No matter what happens at the other levels, agape love sustains the marriage and gives it depth and vitality. The Bible provides a classic description of agape love through the following words and phrases: patient, kind, not jealous, not boastful and arrogant, does not behave inappropriately, does not seek its own interests primarily, does not hold grudges, does not rejoice in wrong but in truth, carries all burdens, not cynical or distrusting, hopes in all situations, and endures everything that comes against it. From time to time, I see how I'm doing in each of these characteristics of agape love. I ask myself if I'm patient, kind, jealous, boastful, or arrogant to Jobeth. You get the picture. I encourage you to give yourself the same test regarding your spouse or loved one. If you're honest, you will discover areas in which you, like I, need to improve. Feelings love makes marriage exciting. Friendship love brings fun and interest to the relationship. But these loves wax and wane, surge and retreat. Agape love, however, remains constant and makes the marriage secure. It takes forever love to crowd out our self-centeredness and to restore the passion and friendship that cures selfish bigotis, and only God can give this kind of love. Well worth the effort. In a recent interview, Oprah Winfrey spoke with Billy Graham about his marriage of 56 years to his wife Ruth. "What's the secret of your wonderful marriage?" asked Oprah. Dr. Graham simply replied, "We are happily incompatible." What was he saying? The great evangelist meant that while he and his wife are different, they have happily reconciled their differences. Billy and Ruth Graham have learned how to overcome their own selfishness and consider each other as more important. That's our first marriage commandment in action. They'll illustrate how this commandment provides the foundation for happy, successful marriage. While marriage isn't always easy, it's always worth the effort. In fact, outside of the relationship with Jesus Christ, marriage is the most sacred and most fabulous relationship God offers. When a man and woman learn how to put aside their own selfishness and give one another top priority, then their marriage can fill up with passion, satisfaction, and power. Father, we thank you for the instructions, for teaching us not to be a selfish pig, for putting others before us and their needs first. We praise you and we thank you for the book and for everything that you're doing, because you're so awesome. We repent and we ask for forgiveness and ask that you change us in any area where we may be a selfish pig and where we are lacking, to where we are healed and there is nothing missing and nothing lacking, and that you replenish and replace and restore everything and every ounce of love that we do not have, that you provide it and push us into overflow. And we thank you for choosing our spouses. We thank you for teaching us how to wait on you, and that this will be biblical. And we thank you and praise you, and we love you so much. You are so good to us. And I cancel any plot, plan, or scheme devised against these marriages in the name of Yeshua. And I command any demon trying to come against them, bow and go. You're not welcome here, you're not wanted, and we're not having it. And I command all fear to cease and desist. And I serve you an eviction notice and command that you bow and go right now in the name of Yeshua. Lord, we thank you and praise you. We love you so much. And we are excited to experience this agape love. We appreciate you and cherish you. We give you honor and glory, Lord. We thank you and praise you. In Yeshua's name, amen. I love you. We will read chapter 2 tomorrow night. And good night.